Okay. Hello. Hello. I almost said daddy issues, listeners. That's not the right podcast. This is Death by Southwest. I just got off of a daddy issues podcast notes call for the adult animated series that we sold to Fox and are trying to get greenlit. I think I've talked about that on here before. And my brain is a little all over the place. So it is, oh my goodness, what's today? Tuesday. It's Tuesday. This is the bonus episode for the week, and it should have come out yesterday. But yesterday was super busy and I was hosting. So there's another podcast that I'm producing currently and kind of running the social media and digital for. And for that podcast, Patreon, the host does a Zoom with his top VIP Patreon members. And those members pay $50 a month for they get ad-free episodes, but they also get this one, like a Zoom hangout where there's maybe 20 of them, 15 of them, and the host, and they just chit chat for an hour, hour and a half. So that was last night. And I'm not actually on the Zoom, like my face is not on it, but I'm hosting it from my Zoom account. So I couldn't use my computer while that was happening, and by the time it was over, it was like 11 o'clock here. And I truthfully just said, fuck it, I'm going to sleep. I didn't do this. I find that with what I'm learning, I've only done a couple, but with these kind of bonus episodes, or they were breakup episodes, I guess, initially, where it's just me staring at myself on my computer and talking into the mic. I find that if I'm like not in the mood, like I don't feel like talking or I'm exhausted, whatever, they come out really flat because I've recorded a couple that I've never published actually. My microphone is blinking red at me, telling me that I'm talking too loudly into it. So to modulate my voice. Anyways, happy Tuesday to everyone. I'm going to probably not edit this and just release it immediately. Same with the video. If you're watching the video, you can see right behind me, I started using I love lists. Here's another one over here. I'm a big list person. So I have right now in front of me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different notebooks. I just like to make a list, my to-dos, my different producer jobs, projects, Death by Southwest, anything, everything. But I like to see things. I guess that makes me a visual person is what I'm trying to say in a not concise way. So I like to see the lists. Ideally, I would have, a whole wall in my kitchen because that's where I spend the most time. That was, dry erase or chalkboard, and I could just list like crazy and have it all be right there. But I don't have that. So I started using, for those who are not watching the video, I have these kind of French doors in between the office and the family room with big pieces of glass. And so I started using dry erase marker to write to-do lists on there so I can see them at all times. That's off topic. So there's no really sense of place today for this bonus because part 2 of Candy Mossler will come out later today. It's recorded. I just need to edit it. And then so I've already done the sense of place for Houston. I really hope that's correct. It's been a busy morning already, and it's only noon. So anyways, the call I was just on, it's kind of why my brain is swimming, is because before, well, first of all, let me backtrack. So there will be no sense of place. I'm going to try and finish a thought here before moving on to the next. There will be no sense of place for this bonus. I'm just going to kind of talk. Um, but I'm not going to talk only about breakup stuff because I'll tell you why when I get there. But I have had a couple people ask me to kind of update, where am I? How am I feeling? Um, what stage of the breakup process am I in? And I do have some things to say about that, but I think I've probably exhausted the topic for a lot of listeners and also for myself a little bit. I think I'm trying to balance how much I focus on my feelings and the breakup and Mark and all of those things. I'm trying to balance that with with not thinking about it and thinking about other things. So today there will be a mix. I am going to talk about it a little bit and answer because I had got some questions. And then I also got a suggestion from a listener. Let me pull up my notes in my phone here. Thank you, by the way, to everyone who sent suggestions for the bonuses. It's much appreciated. So I got a suggestion that said an episode about all the cities you've lived and a deep dive into things to do there, famous places there, famous events that have happened there, which I really like that idea. When I first read this, I thought I kind of read it quickly and thought, just talk about the cities I've lived in and like what I've done there. Um, and now I realize that's not what she meant, that it's kind of more of a sense of place for the cities that I've lived in. And I don't have that information prepared. I did not do that research. But it got me thinking about a couple of stories that I'll talk about, that I'll tell. So there's the layout for this episode. That it's going to be kind of just a mishmash of stuff. So, uh, yeah, my brain is a little all over the place because the podcast I used to produce, or it's really the first podcast I ever produced on my own, was Daddy Issues with Joe Buck and Oliver Hudson. Joe Buck is texting me right now. Um, and so that was, I started working on Daddy Issues with Joe and Oliver years ago and as kind of an associate producer. So I was learning what a producer even does for a podcast. And then caught on quickly, really connected with Joe and Oliver. I love both of them so much. Um, and then I was the producer and that became my show. And then of course, when I moved companies, it came with me. And together with Joe and Oliver and our amazing audio editor, Josh, we all came up with the idea for it might have even been Josh who came up with it. It was about 2 years ago, so I don't totally remember, but an adult animated series. I think it was Josh who first said that, like, because I was trying to come up with a TV derivative for the show that we could try to sell as a TV show. And we did to Fox. But what I'm learning, because I'm new to the TV world, is that just because you sell a show or sell an idea for a show, which is essentially what this was, we didn't have a script or anything, it doesn't mean it's going to get made at all. And there are about 30,000 other steps to go through before you even get that green light where they will order a certain amount of episodes. And that still doesn't mean that it's definitely going to be like a TV show. It's a very like step by step process. And especially, I think there's generally a lot of kind of cooks in the kitchen, but especially for this, it's myself and another producer um, who worked at Cavalry with me, uh, two writers, and then Joe and Oliver. And so it's all six of us. Ultimately, it's Joe and Oliver's show, but everyone is kind of playing their role and everyone has opinions. And then we get notes. We submitted the pilot. We got notes back from Fox about that pilot. And it's it's a very intricate process of trying to, first of all, decipher the notes, making sure we all agree that, this is what he meant or Fox meant by this note. How do we address it? How do we edit and alter the script so that this note is covered? And then everyone has different opinions about that. So it is a process, and it's a fascinating one that I'm enjoying learning about, and really would love. I hope that I have the opportunity to be involved in other TV shows. The chances of that were much more likely when I was working at a company like Cavalry, and now I am essentially just a freelancer, so who lives in Tucson. So the opportunities for making TV shows are not exactly like falling out of the sky, but I'm, who knows? You never know. I never thought that I would be doing what I'm doing now 10 years ago. So that is why my brain feels a little bit scattered. And in addition, I think I mentioned, I don't know, I've taken on kind of a bigger role with this other podcast that I'm producing. Now I'm also covering kind of the digital and social media and YouTube and any tours that the host goes on. And so it's a much bigger role that I'm learning and kind of navigating as I go. Yeah. And then Death by Southwest as well. And I'm still dog walking. So none of that is to like say, oh, poor me. I have so much to do at all. I'm super grateful to be busy right now, especially with this breakup. Um, so since I just said breakup, let's talk about it for a minute, because somebody had messaged me the other day and said, does it help you to be talking about it on the podcast? Because maybe it's not help. Maybe it's doing more harm than help. Like you're just so hyper focused on it, which I think there is an element of truth to that. I think that it's been almost 5 weeks now. Well, it's been just over 4, whatever, semantics, arguing with myself now. Um, it's been about a month, and it has been an emotional roller coaster. Holy shit. But at some point I have to try and stop thinking about it and talking about it and focusing on it every day. I'm there's no timeline to this. I'm kind of just trying to take each day as it comes and just feel how I feel. But it is, yes, I do agree with the listener who I think Charles said that to me. That I think it would be beneficial to not focus on it entirely, which is why I'm not going to focus on it for this whole entire episode. Also, I would imagine listeners are a little sick of it, maybe. I have found, like, I was recording those some stories for Instagram the other night, talking about a breakup or Mark or how I was feeling. And almost as soon as I kind of finished recording them and posted them on Instagram stories, I was like, should I delete that? Am I the most like self-centered? I'm just focusing on myself and my breakup and talking about it and over talking it. And people must be so sick of this. I'm almost sick of it. I'm almost sick of myself. So if I'm annoyed with myself, undoubtedly there are listeners who are too. And uh, I don't want to be, you know, ignorant to think that this is going to continue to be interesting to listen to. Those first maybe 2 breakup ones, the first one for sure, I didn't, there was no thought behind it. I just was so uncomfortably emotional that I didn't know what to do. And there was no one to turn to say, help me, fix this for me, make me feel better, which is unhealthy, but kind of my go-to. Like, I need someone to help me feel better. I'm not good at doing that myself. when I'm feeling kind of out of control emotions. And so that first one was just like, I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to sit down and start talking. And it helped so much. And the second one as well. It does help me kind of talk through things. And a lot of people who listen have had great advice and great feedback and shared their thoughts and their own experiences. And all of that is super, super helpful in, I think, not only kind of healing, but just the process of trying to understand and navigate this breakup, which again, I have not been through something like this embarrassingly or shamefully at the age that I am. I feel like I should have. And then maybe I wouldn't podcasting about it constantly because I'd know how to handle it a little bit better. Anyways, yeah. So, where am I with the breakup? Several people asked that, and before I forget, we got a Apple review. My friend Danielle, she told me I can say her name now. My one friend here in Tucson, who's wonderful, who is also dealing with a breakup. Uh, I was telling her about this Apple review that came through the other day, and she had asked if we've gotten, negative feedback or kind of bad reviews or DMs with people who didn't like the breakup stuff and were like, "Shut up, stop crying into your microphone." And I had to think about it for a second. I was like, "We haven't. Like, I haven't. Not one person has said anything negative or critical, and I fully expected that. Like I was prepared for that when I published those, um, and they haven't, and that's a lovely surprise and surprising for sure. But somebody left a comment when I started, or a review on Apple when I started reading it. I was like, oh God, because it's titled Breakup. And it says, I just found this podcast and was reluctant to listen to the host talk about her breakup. Totally fair statement, by the way. And she said, I'm so glad I listened. Love Margot and her total honesty. You have gained a fan and, more importantly, a supporter. And that just, that got me. That was really encouraging to hear. I don't think that necessarily means that this reviewer wants me to continue talking about the breakup forever and ever, but to know that however it came across to people listening, it wasn't offensive or terribly, terribly annoying. Um, because I didn't really think about that. I just kind of talked. And so